The knock on the door was supposed to be the happiest moment of his return. After months overseas, serving in a dangerous deployment, Captain Ryan finally stepped back onto the porch of his lakeside home. But as he turned the key into the lock, it didn't fit. Confused, he tried again, his heart racing. From inside, voices echoed, unfamiliar, loud, careless. How could someone be inside my house? Ryan thought, gripping his duffel tighter. The sign on the porch gave him the first clue: for rent, HOA managed. His chest tightened. While he was risking his life abroad, his HOA had apparently decided his home was theirs to profit from. Ryan's return was supposed to be quiet, filled with relief and peace. Instead, a stranger swung open the door, eyeing him like an intruder. "Can I help you?" the man asked casually, holding a beer. Ryan froze. His home, his furniture, his photos, everything was behind this stranger. And the HOA had dared to lease it out without his permission. He could have stormed in, but instead, he stepped back. Something inside told him this betrayal ran deeper than he imagined. The HOA wasn't just crossing a line, they were hiding something. And Ryan promised himself he would uncover every detail, but first, he had to figure out, how could he take back what was rightfully his? The next morning, Ryan marched into the HOA office, still in his service jacket, his papers and deed in hand. "You rented out my home," he said firmly. The receptionist barely glanced at him before sliding over a file. "According to our records, the property was vacant. HOA bylaws allow us to manage unused homes." Ryan's jaw clenched. "Vacant? I was deployed overseas. That doesn't make my home yours." Behind the desk, Karen, the HOA president, smiled with the kind of false sweetness that masked malice. "Captain, we simply acted in the neighborhood's best interest. Empty homes attract trouble. We filled yours with reliable tenants. You should be thanking us." Her words cut deep. His service meant sacrifice, and instead of gratitude, he returned to find betrayal. "I want them out." "Now," Ryan demanded. Karen leaned closer, lowering her voice. "They signed a 1-year lease. If you force this, we'll fine you $500 per day for breach of HOA trust." Ryan's fists curled. They had twisted the law, exploiting a soldier's absence for profit. But one thing Karen didn't know: Ryan wasn't alone. His platoon, his brothers in arms, had his back. And if the HOA thought he'd fold quietly, they were about to learn what real strength looked like. Ryan returned to his house later that day, hoping to reason with the renters. The couple inside claimed innocence. "We signed paperwork. We paid the HOA," the man explained. Ryan scanned the contract. It was stamped with the HOA's seal, but something felt off. The rent amount was outrageous, nearly double market value. Clearly, Karen wasn't just filling homes, she was running a profit scheme, using soldiers' absences to line her pockets. Ryan's voice softened. "I don't blame you. But this is my home. My photos, my medals, my family's memories, they're not for rent." The woman hesitated, guilt flashing across her face. She admitted the HOA had pressured them to move in quickly, warning if they didn't, someone else would take it. As Ryan left, his phone buzzed. It was a message from an old platoon friend. "Heard you're back. Need backup? We've got you." For the first time since stepping on that porch, Ryan smiled. The HOA might have played dirty, but they had no idea who they were up against. By the weekend, Ryan wasn't standing alone. One by one, his platoon brothers arrived off-duty, dressed in civilian clothes, but carrying the same loyalty and discipline they had overseas. "This is more than just your house," one of them said. "It's about respect." They think they can push around someone who serves? Not happening. Together, they dug through HOA bylaws, records, and lease agreements. What they uncovered shocked them. Karen had rented out 3 other deployed soldiers' homes, pocketing thousands. Ryan's platoon set up camp in his driveway, bringing grills, chairs, and flags. They weren't going anywhere. Neighbors began noticing, whispering, some even thanking Ryan for exposing what they'd long suspected. Karen, furious, stormed over with papers in hand. "You can't stay here. You're in violation," she began, but Ryan cut her off. "No, Karen. You are. He held up evidence of her scheme, documented and ready. The HOA's empire of control was crumbling, and the neighborhood was finally seeing the truth. Karen called an emergency HOA meeting, desperate to maintain power. But this time, Ryan showed up, with his platoon at his side and the renters who unknowingly took his home now willing to testify. The room filled with gasps as Ryan laid out the evidence. Photos of forged documents. Records of inflated rent payments. Proof that Karen had been using soldiers' absences to enrich herself. While we served our country, Ryan said, voice steady but full of emotion, our homes became your business. That ends tonight. Neighbors shifted uneasily. Some board members looked pale. Karen, red-faced, tried to shout him down, but the room was no longer hers to control. For the first time, Ryan saw fear in her eyes, not of him, but of losing the power she'd abused for years. The vote to remove her began, and the tide turned swiftly against her. Still, Ryan knew Karen wasn't done. She'd fight tooth and nail to cling to her empire. But he wasn't backing down, not with his brothers by his side. With Karen under fire, Ryan and his platoon moved forward. The renters voluntarily vacated, shaken by the truth but grateful Ryan didn't blame them. Finally, he stepped back into his home, his medals and photos untouched, though strangers' footprints lingered. That night, the platoon gathered around his living room. You got your house back, one friend said. But what about the others? Ryan knew this wasn't just about him anymore. He spent hours helping the other soldiers file claims, drafting letters, and preparing legal action. The HOA's corruption was unraveling, thread by thread. Karen tried intimidation, threatening lawsuits, sending letters, but with evidence stacked against her. Even her closest allies began to step away. The neighborhood had turned. Ryan realized he hadn't just come home to a stolen house. He'd come home to lead a fight. And the platoon? They weren't just soldiers overseas, they were protectors here, too. Still, the biggest twist was yet to come. The court hearing was packed. Karen strutted in with her lawyer, still trying to project power. But the judge's face hardened as Ryan's evidence unfolded: fraudulent leases, stolen rent, and abuse of power. Then came the bombshell: documents proving Karen had secretly been renting homes on federal land easements, which meant federal charges could apply. The room gasped. Ryan stood tall. This isn't about revenge. It's about respect. No one should profit from the sacrifice of others. The verdict was swift: Karen removed from the HOA board, fined heavily, and facing criminal investigation. Ryan's home and the homes of the other soldiers were restored. The neighborhood finally broke free of her grip. As Ryan sat on his porch that evening, his platoon by his side, he felt something deeper than victory: peace. His service had been honored, not by medals or parades, but by protecting what mattered most: home. And that was the final twist in this unbelievable HOA story. If you love the drama, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment sharing your thoughts. It really helps this channel grow.